Hello. Today I did a large purchase of books, but it's an annual big purchase of books. I don't tend to buy books all that very often, but there is an annual in Edinburgh, largest in the world second-hand book fair for charity. So it would be rude not to go. And besides, I know some of the people who run it and they're just excellent people. And it's all in a good cause. It's for Christian Aid. And this is their 50th year. I want to set the scene first. The book sale runs every May, so you can start preparing for next year if you're likely to be in the vicinity. And to get your bearings, it's on George Street. It's in a church called St Andrew's of St George's West, which is absolutely gorgeous as a building anyway. It's opposite a large, well-known restaurant eating place called The Dome. And it is, you can orient yourself by going to St Andrew's Square. Now, St Andrew's Square is very reachable if you're coming in. St Andrew's Square is where the bus station is, where you literally get out of the bus station. It's also just up the hill from Waverley Station, which is a train connection, and there's a major tram stop at it as well. So you're likely to get there even if you've flown into town. You've probably got on a tram that's taking you in or something similar. So great for connectivity. Get to St Andrew's Square. There's a giant statue. There's a story behind the statue because it's of someone from the past who is now being held up for disdain and problems because of links with slavery. So it's an incredibly high statue. It makes me think of Horatio Nelson in Trafalgar Square. I don't know exactly comparable heights, but it's really, you look up and up and up and up and up to see it. And there's a new plaque going to be put. Instead of toppling the statue or removing it, they're going to put a plaque up, which is an interesting thing. I took a photograph of that to let you see. Unfortunately, it's a very long worded plaque, so I'm not sure how many people will actually stop and read it, but an attempt is being made to clarify history. And the statue stands at the top of this long column and it looks straight along George Street and along towards St Andrews and St George's West. So you can quite quickly see it as a steeple when you look along the street. It's only about a few doors down on your right, and there you are. But you'll see the people spilling out onto the street. You'll see all the boxes, the tables, the books, the volunteers ready to serve you, and there's lots to see. So there's two courtyards outside, which are like an area inside from the main pavement. And there's fiction galore there, galore. And it's A to Z. You've also got that's on one side of the church outside. On the other side, you've got a giant area for penguin paperbacks, which is rather lovely. And also you've got chunky biographies if you want something. And they're arranged by biographies of kings, queens, biographies of military, biographies of politicians, I think, as well, and so forth. So it's really quite well organized. It is well organised, and it's quite easy to find and zone in on what you want. And inside the church was where I did my main dealing, because that's where the art books are. It's also where you can get LPs for 50p, which is pennies or cents really. And there's a wide selection of books. And the people who are selling the books inside would be the English literature books, would be the literary criticism, poetry, books in French, Spanish, Latin, and a huge section of theology, unsurprisingly, inside the church. And the people who are helping out at the tables are so knowledgeable. I had a fantastic conversation with a lady about art, and the last time I made major purchases, there was also a lady on the art table who was a professor of embroidery from the local university, Edinburgh University, and we had another fantastic conversation. So you not only get a book, but you get a phenomenal conversation, which is just brilliant, and people who really know what they're talking about. So I totally recommend it. What is there not to like? So here we go. I brought home the books and my back felt the strain and told me all about it. And I weighed them on the bathroom scales and it was 1 stone 3 pounds, which doesn't sound like too much maybe, but my back is telling me about it still. I measured the height of the books and it's 8 inches as well, so for me that's rather a large amount. I don't buy books often, and as I say, these are second hand, so they were excellent value. Let me just count how many. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 books. All right, now for the muscle workout, to lift them up, show them to yourselves. So let's dive in. As they say, first of all, the splash of words. Mark Oakley, Believing in Poetry. Now this book is a duplicate in a sense. I lent the original to a friend and it was before COVID and it was with a bunch of books, and I think that, to be honest, she's probably forgotten that it belonged to me. But I needed to have this book and I don't mind having a duplicate. And if I do, I can always give one away to somebody. It's just a book I always want to recommend, simply because it is beautifully written. So the prose is as beautiful as the poetry, wide range of poetry, and Mark Oakley, who wrote it, is brilliant at explaining faith. He was involved with the talking programme at the was it Westminster? Let me see, St Paul's Cathedral. Sorry, yeah. At the time of this book, he was Chancellor of St Paul's Cathedral in London, and a visiting lecturer in the Department of Theology and Religious Studies, King's College London. He is terrific. He's so readable. Yes, it's on that kind of level of Stephen Fry almost. You know, wears his learning lightly, speaks interestingly, you learn lots, and this guy also adds the tone of the pastoral person, the thoughtful person, the contemplative person, and the spiritual person. And he uses a whole lot of different I can see I'm going to start talking about this forever, aren't I? I mustn't do this. I've got a few more books to go over. But he goes through a whole range of different poem chapter, and then explains kind of its meaning and what it's telling us and helping us with in spiritual terms and thoughtfulness. There's a lovely one in it, which is a poet, Hafiz, who I hadn't heard of before, called Tripping Over Joy. And it's only about 12 lines. But I love it. What is the difference between your experience of existence and that of a saint? The saint knows that the spiritual path is a sublime chess game with God, and that the beloved has just made such a fantastic move that the saint is now continually tripping over joy and bursting out in laughter and saying, "I surrender." Whereas, my dear, I'm afraid you still think you have 1,000 serious moves. Love it. Brilliant. Worth it. Reading the splash of words. Just fantastic. Next one is also in a way a duplicate, but because it's another book I prized deeply and it was very, very cheap, I had to get the duplicate. And it's the Oxford Book of Humorous Prose from William Caxton to P.G. Wodehouse, which covers a large number of years, hundreds and hundreds of years, and a conducted tour by Frank Muir. American folks might not know Frank Muir, but he was a key advisor to the BBC on comedy back in about the 50s and 60s, and so he has a great overall idea of what comedy has been through the ages. What you get are a lot of little excerpts, enough to say, oh, this might be someone I really, really like, and it's just fantastic. I find all sorts of people who were writing in the 16th, 17th, 18th centuries I've never heard of. It's a book you can dip into, you can dive into, find a short story, something to make you smile, make you laugh. And he covers English humour, American humour, and some from Australia, which is really, really funny as well. Look at the size of this. Just as a doorstop. And I got it for, I think it was £3. Yeah, I think it's about that. It's unmarked actually. But just We're in a world of humour, laughter, things to cheer you up, things to make you smile, things you can talk about to somebody else. I mean, that's just gold dust. I cannot recommend this highly enough. If you buy one book in humour as a book to find out about the whole field, this would be it. Up to P.G. Wodehouse, so that's taking you up to the 1960s, 1970s. If you want more recent, obviously that's some other book, but it covers a wide variety. Now, I should probably have said at the start that two things. Number one, I'm quite tired, and you might hear it in my voice. Let's take a wee sip. It's been a long day, but I wanted to report back to you while the thrill of the chase is still there. I had an unexpected engagement this afternoon, which was good, but involved talking to some people I didn't know very well, and I find that quite tiring, to be honest. So, hello, here I am doing it with you. But yeah, after COVID, I had quite a quiet time during COVID, and today I was suddenly at a large public event speaking to a few folks I hadn't seen for quite a while. And then this afternoon, unexpectedly, there was a group of folks as well. So I'm feeling rather tired. So I'm going to do a little bit more umming and ahhing and erring. Please bear with. And I hope you'll like what you see and that will make up, because after all, we're here for the books. Right, this one is just good. Look at that cover. How could you resist? Book title is California Pottery from Missions to Modernism. And I have to fess up here and say, I don't know that much about pottery, but I do know someone that I like, value greatly, who's recently begun to consider collecting pottery. And there's such a broad range of styles in this, from quite sort of earthenware looking, quite plain, to, as you can see on the cover, brighter ones, the kind of lovely mixed cups you might get in a really nice cafe. That I love that sort of thing myself. I'm not a mixy matchy person, so my friend isn't either, so I think this might be a good one for her. Only cost a few quid, slip it in the post. The thought of opening meal and finding a book in it, that's a gift. Wow. I hope it just pleases her as much as I think it would all of us. Now, another book about art. Seeing Slow. I feel I need to pause after I say that. Looking at Modern Art by Michael Findlay. This is really all about, as it says, seeing slowly. And he's talking about taking people around looking at art, especially modern art, and learning to spend time with it, and what is it going to say to us. And I think that's rather helpful, because sometimes you can look at modern art and it seems like it's just a few stripes on the wall. What has it got to say? And this book is encouraging to see, to think, to feel, which is what art does anyway. And of course, if you're anything like me, tired or not, I need time to think and absorb and then think, what am I feeling? Find words for it. So the chapters are about, the titles are Peeling the Onions, Baggage Handling, What is Work of Art, Can We Look and See at the Same Time, The Art of Being Present, Real Connoisseurs Are Not Snobs, Getting Personal. So I look forward to reading that. And the thing that would get me at the very start is this picture of a woman sitting and looking, spending time with the work of art, which is very close to my heart. The idea of contemplation, not just a quick scene, but being with works of art. And as you do that, spend the time, you're much more likely to catch an idea of what the artist might have in mind, or what he would like you to think or feel. Now, the next one is a bit more immediate. M.C. Escher. You're likely to have seen his art, where he will often have one thing changing into something else. So this has got a fish changing into a bird, or a bird changing into a fish, whichever way you want to look at it. And I got this as a present for someone who is doing computer game design, and I thought this would be a great resource. I should flick it this way to let you see it, shouldn't I? And I'll maybe put the camera on as well. where you're looking at patterns and creating worlds that are just astounding. Worlds within worlds, worlds where things change. There's a lot of geometry in it. And the lady I was speaking to at the desk was very helpful because there had been an exhibition on Esher just before lockdown. She'd been to it, and she said there was a picture of bees and honey, which isn't in this book, but it was something like this where it was changing from one thing into another. And she said you don't get the idea of the size from the book, and this is a big thing about art, is you look at it in the book and you don't get the idea of the size. And she said in the piece she was describing to me, it was 10 metres long. So that's a really, I don't know what, maybe 40 feet, really wide. So it made me realise that if you looked at it, you would start at one end. You wouldn't really be able to take it all in at once. So you would have to start at one end, look, bang, and there it had changed. So it's like a film. It's different. So incredibly clever, and apparently there's a lot of fiendishly difficult maths in it as well. So MC Escher. Next is a painter probably better known in Britain, Stanley Spencer. And it's got a lot of black and white pictures in it rather than colour. It's got lists of paintings, but that's kind of what I need to know first of all about him. What works did he make in his lifetime? Just an overall look. And his topic came up, his name came up in the conversation I had with the lady, and lo and behold I was able to say, oh, I've got the book. So there's a lot of information in this I can read through, and it's going to take me through it. Stanley lived and loved a particular village called Cookham in England, and he drew ordinary people. And the other thing was he would reinterpret stories from the Bible and show the ordinary people of Cookham and what they were doing. So for example, here is Christ carrying the cross and painted in 1920, but actually it's people coming to paint windows and walking with the ladders crossed. Can you see that? And out of the window are all these angels appearing and looking on. And it's quite jolly in many ways. Very graphic. So, Stanley Spencer. I now have a better overall view of his paintings. Next. This was a book I didn't even know existed, which is the joy, of course, of ferreting around in little second-hand bookshops, or big ones even. It's called Doorposts. 60 calligraphic renderings of Bible passages with notes by the artist, Timothy Botts. So the idea is that in the Hebrew world, it would be important to put words above your doorposts. Well, I'm a sucker for graphic art, lettering, display, words, and how they're mixed with ordinary life and how they're mixed with art. So this ticks loads of boxes for me. I'll probably take the camera around and have to show you, flick through to get the benefit of it all. But very different styles and colours. And again, something you can sit and be slow viewing, slow meditating, considering the words. Because with calligraphy, they are an art. So I'll let you see that on my camera to give it justice. Now, Bonnard, French painter, post-impressionist. Probably best known for painting pictures of his wife in the bath, which sounds pretty odd, but she had a particular, I don't know if it was a physical illness or a mental illness, but she felt the need to take baths all the time, and he painted her bathroom, which was quite an ordinary, nice little bathroom, but the way he bounced the light around the tiles is just magnificent. And I also got this book a little bit cheaper because it turned out to be all in French. Now, I learned French at school and I haven't had enough practice at it, so this is going to try me on that, but of course the pictures are going to be great. Just lovely. Now let me see if I can find a typical one of him. Oh, it's also got a little biography summary at the back, which is brilliant. I like that. Oh, it's got little sketches of his as well, which makes you feel, ooh, I could learn to draw, she said, filling herself, but it's interesting when you see how an artist starts to sketch. It looks a lot more doable. And he also painted a lot of indoors. Intimism, he's called, a painter of the intimate indoors, because his wife didn't go out very much and they kind of became reclusive together. So you get lots of great still lifes. He was also very good at portraits, self-portraits, and of course portraits of his wife. And he had the endearing habit of painting her as if she was still incredibly young as when he met her, which is a good thing for a husband to do if you think about it. It's quite a compliment. And finally, the art that appeals to everyone, the New Yorker cartoons. Album of drawings from 1925 to 1975. And I opened it, and I just happened to open it a posh lady reclining in her chaise longue on the phone saying, well, if this is a wrong number, why did you answer it? I just went, okay, I have to get the book. They're all different styles because it's covering 50 years. It's clever, inventive, it's witty. There's a whole story, a whole nice set of ideas just in one quick look. It's so instant, so well done. So some of them will have dated more than others, to be honest, I imagine. And there's a funny one which is about the vicar's remorse. Having blessed the foxhounds in accordance with tradition, he feels a prick of conscience. So you have him, blessing the hounds, going out to chase the foxes, and then he kind of runs up through a stile, runs across to where the foxhole is, and he blesses the foxes. Absurd, but fun. So these are my books, and I don't think I can do a whole pile of them all at once. I think that would go wrong with my my back at the moment. But anyway, a quick recap: The New Yorker for cartoons, Bonnard in French to challenge me, Doors, Doorposts, Calligraphy, Stanley Spencer, M. Escher, Seeing Slowly, Looking at Modern Art, California Pottery, The Oxford Book of Humorous Prose, and The Splash of Words by Mark Oakley. I hope you enjoyed seeing them as much as I have done in collecting them and adding them to my collection of words and books, and also passing a few on. So I'll let you know how that turns out. Bye for now.